Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. We have had a lot of technological advancement over the past 10 to 20 years, and a lot of it is good. And there's a lot of stuff that we used to do manually that we no longer do manually. Lots of data entry, lots of other nonsense. The problem is that when it comes to decision making, I think we jumped the gun in believing that algorithms can make all decisions for us. Algorithms can be useful to suggest what type of music I may be interested in. But when we start using algorithms to determine who is and is not allowed to have a voice, who is and is not allowed to sell their wares to other people, who is and is not allowed to be a merchant, I don't think that we were ready for that. But a lot of companies jumped the gun on this, whether we're talking about Google and YouTube trying to use algorithms to figure out whether or not a comment should show up to the point where my own comments don't show up on my own channel, as I go over in this video, or we're talking about Amazon, where they are using algorithms to try and figure out which sellers should and should not be allowed on the platform, what reviews should and should not show up. And I go over this in these two videos over here. I'm trying to go over what the results are. 11 years ago, I did a video on why I stopped selling on eBay and Amazon, and I encourage other vendors to do the same. Admittedly, it took a little bit longer than I thought, but as we get to 2023, companies that sell good crims are selling them at Home Depot. There are no good crims on Amazon, in my opinion. The ones you can buy on Amazon are these types, where they literally can be taken right off with your fingertips, which is not very safe. This is for 10 gauge to 12 gauge wire. It's not unreasonable to think that somebody may try to put 10 or 20 amps through that, which is really dangerous. Or we're talking about fuses over here. There are many things that don't blow, and I'm okay with them not blowing, but that I have a zero tolerance policy for when the thing that doesn't blow is a fuse, especially when it is a 2 amp fuse that I am putting 8 amps through. If I put 6 amps through a fuse that is rated for 2 amps for 3 minutes, that shit had better blow, no questions about it, especially when I put 8 amps through right after. It didn't blow. There's an article going over this in Ars Technica that I wanted to go through. It's titled, Amazon Marketplace Crackdown Has Sellers Searching for Legal Help. Cleanup drive has led to some small businesses having their accounts suspended, and it looks like they are seeking legal help for this. Now, many people reading this may think, good, Amazon is cracking down on bad vendors. Isn't that exactly what Lewis wanted? Not like this. Not this way. Not like this. The Matrix meme. When you take a look, you can see that not only are the connectors and the fuses that I purchased still available on Amazon, not only are they still top ranking and in the top of the search results when you search for these particular items on Amazon, the best part about it is that my 1-star review for both of these products to this day does not show up. I have reported each of these products as unsafe, as well as leaving a 1-star review, as well as having a video with hundreds of thousands of views, and in the other case, over 700,000 views on a YouTube channel with 2 million subscribers. The products are still up. Like, it's been almost a month. This stuff is unsafe. This is shit that if I sold, I would get in legal trouble for selling. And it's still there. And the reason for this, in my opinion, is because Amazon is taking an approach where they really want to rely on algorithms and key performance indicators rather than ever having a human with common sense actually look at a situation, because that would cost them actual money. I like to read this article, and I want you to really pay attention to the parallels between not just other types of online platforms, but also the general feeling people have when it comes to how they are judged for what they do online. Merchants who have been suspended from selling goods on Amazon's marketplace are turning to lawyers to regain access to their accounts and money, amid growing scrutiny of how the retailer treats independents. For those of you who are unaware or have not sold on Amazon before, I haven't sold on Amazon for like 11 years now, but the way it used to work is they would hold your money for a certain period of time, and if they did ban you, since they were holding money from prior sales, you would have to wait anywhere from 3 to 6 months to get access to money from those sales, even if the customers did not complain. So this can create a serious problem for a merchant that has, low profit margins and is not exactly flush with cash. Account suspension was a big fear of mine, said one seller who declined to be named. At the end of the day, it's not really your business. One day you can wake up and it's all gone. And that's something that I've gone over in this very video over here. When you are dealing with Amazon and eBay, you are not building your brand, you are not building your business, you are building somebody else's success. And what I want people to do is I want them to build their success, their brand, not somebody else's. It's going to take a little bit more work in the beginning, 100%, but it'll be yours, and it'll be something that is much more difficult for somebody to take away from you. Amazon's recent efforts to crack down on issues such as fake product reviews have come as US and European regulators have upped their scrutiny of the online harms facing shoppers. If you're a seller and you need help to navigate the system, that's a real vulnerability for the marketplace. If you're operating a business where the people you're deriving revenue from feel that they're being treated in an arbitrary way without due process, that's a problem. Does this sound at all familiar with what you hear from people that are YouTube content creators when they have an issue here? It really is one of these things where it's almost the same complaint all around. Where you hear people complaining about not being able to comment on a social media platform, not being able to upload a video without getting a strike arbitrarily, or somebody who is selling something who randomly has their account deleted and their money taken away. It isn't even just an issue of quality at this point, because obviously these systems have no way to tell if what's being sold is actually good or quality. It's an issue of trying to live our world in a system where none of these things are managed or looked at by real human beings. Many of these sellers are dealing with attorneys as a result of this because they're getting their shit deleted when they're not the ones that are actually doing anything wrong. Simultaneously, their competitors that are actually fucking and robbing people over blind, that have figured out how to game the algorithm and game the system, are getting off scot-free. There's one comment on this article from Snake Plissken UK. It's perfect, and it puts everything into context in a beautiful way. It says, ultimately, they don't give a damn about the actual sellers and are happy to put incredibly onerous conditions on them and arbitrarily remove accounts based on algorithms that frequently punish real sellers and ignore fake ones. And that's before we get to the increasing number of customers who threaten bad reviews or claim non-delivery to get some kind of refund or discount, thus triggering those algorithms all over again. Because the idea goes, where else are those businesses going to go? Ding, 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 ding. Perfect. When I used to sell products on Amazon, I had the worst experience of my life. People would take a screen, and because they would buy the wrong screen because they didn't know what went into their computer, they needed an N156B3 LLB from Chime, and they would buy an N156B6 LLB from Chime because the LED version was cheaper. They would do this. They would literally cut the shit and mutilate it to try and move the cable to where it's supposed to be. And then when that didn't work, because you can't hook up a fluorescent backlit computer to an LED backlit screen, it's not going to work properly without some sort of serious adapter and new circuitry. What would happen is they would say, oh, I broke it. Oh crap, I need to get my money back. Let me lie now. And what they would do is they would call that shipping damage. Because when the UPS guy threw the box across the warehouse, there was no crack in the very sensitive glass screen, but there was a very nice and cleanly done incision right along the part that you were trying to plug in. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Anyway, when this stuff would happen, what they would do, Amazon would do, is they would side with the customer and they would refund the customer in full, and they would assume that I did something wrong. If you wanted to game the system, instead of selling grade A plus parts, which cost way more money, you would sell grade A minus parts, which were way cheaper. What other sellers would do that were smart, that cared about their business, but didn't give a fuck about their customers, they would sell grade A minus LCDs because they were substantially cheaper. They often had issues that would not come up until, let's say, 4 months after the sale, but customers on these platforms often cannot leave a review after a certain period of time has passed. At least with eBay, that was the case. So they would sell grade A minus LCDs. And in the first video I ever uploaded to YouTube, I went over A minus versus grade A LCDs. So instead of purchasing a $35 part and selling that part for $40, they may purchase a $15 or a $20 part and sell that part for $40. So what they would do in this case is, even if the customer was wrong, before the customer had any chance to do anything, they would immediately refund him all of his money and send him a new one. So they would like overnight ship a new part and refund their money altogether so that they would game the algorithm. They would note that there were no complaints from that particular customer. There were no cases. Technically, this winds up looking better because they wind up having more good reviews. Technically, according to the key performance metrics and the key performance indicators that Amazon's algorithm is looking for, that seller is actually doing a better job because that is never going to be escalated to a case. That seller has so much extra money as a result of buying grade A minus parts and pretending that they are grade A plus, because again, how the hell is Amazon going to know the difference? It's an algorithm. They have so much extra money that they can afford to give the customer a full refund in all of these cases. Many of these parts that are grade A minus that will develop stuck pixels, dead pixels, or have the screen not work, that's going to happen 5 or 6 months down the line. And on eBay, after 45 or 90 days, at least back in the day, you were not able to edit your feedback. You didn't need to get a good review. You simply needed a good review for the first 45 days. And as long as you got that, you're good. Who cares if the person's house or motorcycle goes on fire because you sold them a wire and told them it was a fuse? That's their problem. I already got my 5-star. I'm good. Further, let's say that there was a more rare case where the customer actually got a product that didn't work immediately. Again, you wouldn't have to care about getting the old one back to RMA. You wouldn't have to care about verification because, again, you're making so much money by selling fraudulent merchandise that you can just give them a full refund. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm going to send you 2 new ones. I'll overnight them to you. technically, even though they're selling garbage, the algorithm is not checking for that. So what happens is those sellers that are selling crap that can afford to get away with it and be sneaky about it wind up rising to the top. Whereas the sellers that sell good merchandise say, I'm not playing this game, I'm out of here. And then you wind up with marketplaces like this, where you cannot buy a crimp, you cannot buy a fuse. If you want to buy a skewer for your bike, you have to scroll through 14 no-name pieces of garbage that are going to break and crack the moment you go over a 2-inch pothole to find a single skewer from a company that makes something good. That is how many people are screwing over the system. Now, if you're a local hardware store that sells electronic parts, or you sell fuses and crimps and stuff like that, you're probably in business because you know your stuff in that particular field. And you're probably going to want to purchase from vendors on average that kind of know their stuff as well. Again, there's always going to be stuff that slips through. I know that accidents can happen, but you're not going to have a marketplace where 95 to 99% of your products in a particular product vertical genuinely straight up fraud because they're deceiving the system. Once you know what the key performance indicators and key performance metrics are, and once you know that an algorithm is looking at it and not a human, you can figure out how to game it. And once you know how to game it, there is so much more money to be made in gaming the system than there is in actually being honest. So with a lot of these sellers, the reason they're mad is because the sellers that actually sell good products, that really want to treat their customers very well, that sell good products, are getting destroyed because they cannot compete on these metrics that the garbage sellers can. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. Hopefully you are looking at this and deciding, you know what? I don't really feel like living in a future where my ability to speak, to upload video, to buy, to sell, to transact with my fellow humans is determined and limited by an algorithm. That's not a future that I'm looking forward to. Now for our anti-sponsor spot. In these videos, I do not include sponsors in them, but I often include anti-sponsors. An anti-sponsor is where we talk about a major company that is doing something that I think is screwing over its users. And today we're going to be circling back to LG. There was somebody in the video that I did on Netflix where I was explaining why it is I do not want to connect my television to the internet who pushed back. If you are so paranoid you won't even hook up your TV to the internet for fear of some unknown entity spying on you, that is frankly your problem. And there are 39 people that I imagine don't actually read any of the terms of service to understand what's going on, so I thought I would go through some of this for you. I had a smart TV in that video, and what I did is I turned it on and I just decided to deal with all the basic default options, just out of curiosity. We weren't talking about a $200 television. We were talking about a top-of-the-line LG television that retails for $3,600, a G3 OLED 77-inch. You would think that when you pay that much money for a top-of-the-line TV, that what you're getting is a device that doesn't automatically opt you in to spyware, to ads, to tracking, and to a system that reads what it is I'm watching so it can keep track of it and upload it elsewhere. Unfortunately, that's what happens. In this video that I did, I turned all of those features and functionality off. I went through it manually and found any of the settings that I had missed, and I made sure that they were all turned to a privacy respecting setting. I turned on the television again the other day, and I noticed that the television was updating itself. And after it updated, you see this. Okay, restart TV for update. Our privacy policy has changed. The TV will not restart to show the updated user agreements for your review. What's this about? We are updating our terms and conditions. You can check the updated terms and conditions at, and it just disappeared. Oh, here we go. Highlighted user agreements have been updated. You can agree to specific consent agreements all at once. Please note by reading and agreeing to the viewing information agreement, you understand detailed information, but the content you watch will be collected using automatic content recognition software, and this information can be used and shared with our third-party partners for advertising purposes, and as described in the privacy policy, viewing information agreement, an interest-based and cross-device advertising agreement. For more details, including how to withdraw your consent, please refer to these documents. Now, do keep in mind that this television goes for $3,600, and I paid the full asking price for this piece of garbage television. I know, Mr. Clinton. It's bullshit. And further, as you can see, I turned off these settings because I showed you I turned off these settings in the Netflix video. In spite of the fact that I turned off these settings, it is still asking me and trying to stick the tip in again by saying that it is going to get information on what it is I'm watching using content recognition shit, as if this has anything to do with being in my interests. One of the arguments that showed up in that video that I did is you don't want to pay for things and et cetera, et cetera. This TV over here, I got this thing for the store like 5 years ago. This television cost me about $200 free shipping 5 years ago. I'm not saying it's right, but if this thing wants to advertise to me and then when I say no, stop tracking me, it says no, fuck you, we're still going to track you. It's a $200 television is what it is. This is $3,600. This is an LG G3 77-inch TV. It's like literally the second most expensive television LG makes. Okay, so what if I hit select all and then more? Oh, no, I don't agree to any of them. I literally deselect all of them. I select none of this. Fuck you all. The whole purpose of what we have over here, as you can see over here, look at this. Look at this beautiful beast. 20 terabyte, 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 is to never have to connect this evil piece of garbage to the internet ever again. That's it for today. That is today's anti-sponsor spot. Do keep in mind that even if you pay for a top-of-the-line LG television, it will default to trying to advertise to you. And when you update the software in the television, it will try to get you to undo the stuff that you already unchecked earlier to try and get you to agree and consent to being tracked once again after saying no. So, it's kind of like that. But can I stick the tip in? No. How about now? No. How about now? No. LG wants to stick the tip in, and they're going to try as often as they can. Don't let them. Much better option than this. Good, bad. Good, bad. You're not paranoid when it is in size 72 font on your 77-inch TV right in front of you. That's not paranoia. If you have basic English literacy, upon reading this, what you will understand is that your product is not something that you own, but rather your product is trying to own you. And one of the things that I've gone over on this channel many times is that many modern tech companies fundamentally have what Eli the computer guy calls a rapist mentality. And I double down on that. This is what I call EULA roofing, when you essentially hide these types of terms inside of things that people are just going to do this to because they want to get back to using their television. I already told you no. I went through every fucking option in the television, LG, and I turned all that shit off. And then when you install an update, you try to sneakily get me to turn all of that shit back on. That is rapey. No means no. If I ask a woman on a date and she says no, I don't try to ask, okay, would you like me to leave? And also go, hey, and then when she says yes, take that to mean that I should stalk her and follow her and look at everything that's going on her screen. That is very, very rapey. That is very, very creepy. And that is not okay. It is not okay with a $200 television, but a small part of me hates saying it out loud, but I could understand if you're subsidizing the cheap cost of your hardware by spying on your customers in an underhanded way. But this shit's $3,600. There's like literally, you go to many websites to buy a television and you sort from like high to low, and this shows up as like one of the first results. This is inexcusable. Fuck you, LG, for trying to do that to your customers. You are not paranoid. They are literally telling you that they are watching what it is you're watching on your television and uploading and logging that information with identifying information on your television to God knows who. And I'm not interested in that. I don't think you should be either. Look at your television and turn all those settings off. Better yet, don't connect it to the internet. I connected it to the internet so that you wouldn't have to, so that I could show you all of these things. But I'm never going to do that again. This is why I refuse to utilize services that will not give me the content that I paid for unless I use their platform. Because very often the platform that they're going to force me to use is a platform that does every single thing it can to try and roofie me and get information out of me that I did not consent to giving them. And after I say no, they don't accept it as a no. They try to get me to say yes in sneaky, underhanded ways later. I don't play that shit. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. I feel like I could actually make this LG anti-sponsored spit its own video, but it feels, I don't know why it feels kind of petty to do that, but at the same time, I really do feel like there are probably hundreds of thousands of people that got that product that actually found that and turned it off and then didn't even realize that it got turned back on because they were just clicking OK through everything because they wanted to watch a television show with their loved one and they didn't feel like reading a EULA. And it's just shitty stuff to do. Let me know if you think that should be its own video or not. Anyway, I'm out of here. This is kind of getting long-winded. See you in the next one.